the spirit of the Spectral Wraith, I believe it was, you know, a few patches ago, a few years, I guess a year ago, that was what Wayless did. It's just, again, the Haunting Guys wouldn't have been the best early pickup. A lot of mid laners might pick up a Snowball Haunting Guys for a bit more magic penetration to get that big shockwave, but it was the Leandras. It was understanding health stacking matters in, percentage health damage, if you can get it, and they were getting it from Kog'Maw, but they were getting it importantly from their mid laner as well.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, and it was just not, there wasn't enough from King to be able to get through to anything here as well. And once there was the triple lifesteal items to come through for Imp, he just lasted so long in these team fights, despite all of the lockdown CC.
It's just hilarious. You know, 200 or so shield coming, maybe 250 health shield coming through from the Bloodthirster, then a 500 health shield coming through from the Orianna, Janna shield thrown on top, 40% lifesteal. This lasted so long in the fights. Effectively a guy used as a ball carrier in the last fight and getting out massive damage himself. The Kog'Maw pick definitely came out trumps against the short-range dive comp King was putting together. And as the bans come through, Sejuani this time is going to be on the ban list.
Yeah, Rek'Sai taking a spot on that ban list as well.
But on blue side Atlas, though, they ban it away. It feels like MLXG not confident, more of a Rengar player, I guess, not feeling confidence when it's coming to the Sejuani, which is now in meta. You need to be able to play those tank junglers on patch 5.6. Cho'Gath's available. Finally, that Cho'Gath win rate's gone. 3-1. It used to be 3-0. We'll see what the answering picks up. Probably not going to be the Sad Mummy. And to all those fans out there, you are correct. Don't adjust your screens as Flame is in.
Yeah, Flame is in here as well. We'll see whether he's going to be playing Acorn Champions or whether he's going to hop back to the likes of the
What even is
Cannon.
a Flame champion these days?
I don't know. I don't know. It seems to be just whatever Acorn used to be known for playing, and now Acorn plays the likes of Cannon. But Maokai is going to be hovered over here at least. TBQ still on that Sad Mummy. The timer's going low, and we might have an Amumu in the LPL. Yes, we do.
It's locked in. That's very surprising. Such an early Amumu says to me, all right, you guys showed us your anti-carry comp last time. Run it again. We've got Amumu. Come invade my jungle. They're considering the Gragas jungle here. Gragas saw a couple of buffs. Whenever you see Amumu, the standard response for what, 4 years now has been Lee Sin, going for the skirmishing option. Will we actually see double Cinderhulk farming jungle? Will we actually see an LPL game with little to no jungle pressure? That is something I never thought I would see, but considering the Nautilus doesn't mean it's necessarily a jungle Nautilus, but I have a sneaking suspicion we might see some level 6 rushes from the jungle.
Yeah, might be happening here, but Assassin, he's going to lock away the horse for the top lane, so Sky hopping over onto Hecarim. And MLXG, they've locked in the Nautilus again. We'll see whether it goes into the hands of Liam.
Please, the magical journey.
Are we going to be going for a magical journey, ladies
Atlas,
and gentlemen?
we've done it a few times. This would be the dream. 5.6
this would be the dream.
Saw some buffs. It's locked in!
Oh my goodness! Ladies and gentlemen, LGD do it. That is Bard, and I'm not even sure whether he's going to go into the bottom lane.
I can't believe they locked it in.
What is a Flame Champion? Well, maybe, ladies and gentlemen, it's Bard.
Just seeing Bard in this game is already super exciting. That's probably the biggest gasp I've had since a certain Heimerdinger game a few years ago. But Bard is locked in. Competitive Bard is here, folks. Speaking of competitive champions, Woosh has got the Urgot. Elise sees his triumphant return to the meta, of course. Saw some very strong quality of life changes, specifically a bit slower in range form, but 355 base movement speed in spider form. That's the same, if you're following at home, as the likes of Master Yi and Pantheon, the fastest of melee champs. You can do so much gap closing. Also, the cocoon speed is faster.
That cocoon speed is ridiculously good.
And why those both need to be discussed, Elise is still feast or famine. You either get all your work done in the early game, win the game for all your lanes in the early game, because in the late game you've only got the cocoon. You're not Lee Sin when it comes to peeling in the late game. You don't transition as well from a damage dealer to a peeler like Lee Sin manages to do. But at least they're going for the early game, and the return of Wayless's Anivia, an excellent Anivia player, cool already having some success on that champion. But this cast and this game is going to be full of magical journeys.
It is just going to be one magical journey, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad that you can come with us on this ride. As PYL, who we've discussed has a fantastic roaming style, it's going to be a little bit better now, as he can go around and pick up those charms in the jungle.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh my gosh. Well, look, we'll see how this works. Of course, not with the highest of win rates in the old solo queue, but PYL will see whether he can make it come to the forefront of competitive play as we see Flame on the Maokai this time against the Hecarim. Pretty standard matchup there on the top side of the map, but the jungle, that is what I want to talk about. TBQ on the Amumu, and we've got MLXG on Elise.
I thought the Amumu would be the overreach this game in terms of new meta picks, and Nivea, of course, returns. Wave clear in the middle, that's going to be fairly standard. But the bottom lane, and I'm going to right now say, I'm going to hesitate to call it a bottom lane because I do not know if you want to opt into a 2v2 with Bard Lucian against Urgot Nautilus. And there's the Bard. That's definitely Bard. It's the same icon on the Chinese client as the Western client. Nothing else to say there. I think the lane swap has to be on. That's the only way you can roam, really, in competitive play. And Bard, it's certainly not an anti-roam, but this is one hell of a lineup coming through from LGD.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how this one's going to work out because, of course, what does Bard offer to a team? Sort of delaying certain aspects of a team fight, excellent sort of use around neutral objectives if you manage to sort of put a whole lot of people into stasis who are trying to take Baron and then smite the Baron away.
Stasis either really works or it really doesn't, right? And the magical journey, that's what we're all going on, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, well, let's get on to that magical journey as we head to the Rift. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, for our first game with Bard. And TBQ's already been caught in the jungle here as King are so aggressive. And the Amumu going to get counter-jungled from minute 1 exactly.
And if you see an Amumu and a Bard in competitive play, what better thing to do than say, all right, you don't have that much level 1 power. Let's go in there, invade the jungle. But to pick up a kill feels even better. And crucially, TBQ used his flash. The Amumu's already risky first clear. Suddenly looks like maybe a bridge too far.
Yeah, we've seen Amumu's die to Krugs, but he's definitely going to die when it's 4 champions as well. And that's at 1 minute into this game. King with already a fantastic beginning.
The sad mummy doing some sick roleplay here, Atlas. He's really sad now.
He's certainly sad and very lonely as well, considering the fact that there's no one else in that death chamber. As PYL just going to swag walk up this top lane, and it seems like they may get their lane swap.
And I just don't understand why TBQ was so aggressively positioned in his jungle when your team comp literally screams at the top of its lungs, lane swap! You need a lane swap when you've got an Amumu jungle and a Bard on your team. If you want to do any roaming, you're going to at least scout for wards. That's what you have to. You have to scout for the lane swap with those aggressive lane wards. Stood in the middle of his jungle and just paid for it with his life.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. And PYL continuing to get some wards down here as well. And a lane swap, this is where Bard might actually work.
I mean, look, it definitely is much better than a 2v2, at least in its current balanced state. So the lane swap is on. They actually get the lane swap for the cost of a death onto Amumu. If he doesn't receive any more contests in the jungle, if he gets through happily with this double jungle, maybe it's not the worst thing.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it works out here as we get into the laning phase of this game. Assassin continuing just to push out this wave. Does have a fantastic push on here as Wayless does his very best to try and hold this wave off the tower. Does a brilliant job farming underneath that turret, which is something that Anivias have struggled with in the past. MLXG going to use his Spiderlings to tank up this Grump as Sky helps him out there as well. And double jungle not going to be happening for too long here.
So on the player cam, it says Wayless, but just to confirm to the viewers, we knew it was Wayless. We see his smiling, sunny disposition. It's definitely Wayless, even though he's labeled as God V in the client.
God V.
God 5.
God 5. Maybe. Either doesn't really make
Maybe that's the name of his
sense.
ranked team.
Maybe. Maybe he can't. He had Gold 5? Maybe that's.
I don't think Wayless spent too much time in Gold 5, Atlas.
I don't think so either. As Sky and MLXG going to do their best to try and break the freeze here on the top side of the map. As TBQ has actually found a binding here as well. We've got the repel to come out, but Imp going for this one very aggressively. The failed flash from MLXG. I wonder whether there's going to be enough to flash from Imp to follow up. Is the piercing light going to be there? There's going to be the bandage toss as TBQ decides he deserves that kill.
That was probably a very cathartic moment for the Amumu. He's like, that's what you get for the level 1 invade.
Oh, yeah.
Picks up the countering kill. So 1-1 the Amumu somehow picks up a trade. We missed the start of that engage coming up. And Bard, he's in the bottom.
He's in the bottom. He's getting some wards down here as well.
Some
just
health laning
with
being very useful.
Oh, super useful. You have no idea. Of course, does have those little shrines down as well in order to help out Flame as far as getting a bit of that health and mana back. He's placed them underneath that turret as well. Of course, your enemies can pick those up, so you probably don't want to put them anywhere where everyone can pick them up.
In the mid lane, we've seen the return of this Cho'Gath versus Anivia matchup. We saw it in the first game. It was cool on the Anivia versus Lowe's Cho'Gath, and Anivia was actually 20 CS, doubling the CS early. Much better Cho'Gath performance from Assassin, who's now 3-1 on that champion, equaling the CS. So at least having a much happier time than Lowe in that previous game.
Yeah, well, precisely. Imp actually putting some pressure onto Sky here on the top side. The 1v1 generally doesn't go too well, you could imagine, for the melee champion, and Imp does have Lucian here, who has a lot of skirmishing power. TBQ's going to find MLXG again, who's very squishy here, but Assassin, he rotates through first. PWL gets caught by a rupture here, sort of incidentally, as we've got, there's the Noxious Bite to come down. Liam gets the stun. PYL, I'm sorry, you continue to probably do not a whole lot on that champion, but he's going to be able to stroll out of the way. The magical journey was sort of put down for fun.
He went in for the magical journey, went through that portal, tried to get the exit kill, didn't have enough damage, wasn't able to pick up any meeps as he went with his auto attack. So again, his auto attack only doing base attack damage. Couldn't pick up the kill, flashed away. So first magical journey, a bit of a misfire, but still plenty of times for that story to be much happier.
Yeah, it was still definitely magical, as Wayless going to continue to try and farm out this wave. Has taken a lot of damage. Assassin's been yelling at him quite a lot here in the mid lane. Of course, that egg form's still going to be available, so Egg Nivea going to save Wayless's life if he does get bursted down. But Assassin about to hit that level 6, and he might just eat the egg.
And no Ignite available might be a relevant consideration. Doesn't have a lot of items just yet, so probably will do a lot of the damage, but I feel like Anivia might live if the egg comes up under turret to just deter a potential turret dive with the Vorpal Spike auto attacks from the Cho'Gath. Just trying to really look at these CS values. We've been very distracted, just trying to follow Bard and seeing what happy fun times has been up to. Speaking of happy fun times, that's a pretty good spot for a journey.
Yeah, and Sky actually does get the ward over the edge. Of course, no vision available for PYL to spot out that horse coming through. And the dive could potentially be on, but it's a really nice pink ward here from King just to make sure that no one's going to get into that brush unseen. Another magical journey going to be taken here by PYL.
But not necessarily a massive. We're waiting for the decisive magical journey. I mean, we were all thinking about perhaps OMG bringing the magical journeys out with Loveling and aggressive pathing. We haven't quite seen. I mean, you don't necessarily see a Mumu Bard as the most synergy. You know, maybe you expect more of the Lee Sins of the world. But there is always that scenario. You can, of course, see it in your head, the curse of the sad mummy coming through.
Curse of the sad journey. The curse of the sad journey.
Well, I mean, that's what PYL almost had. He almost died from his first match. That would have been a very sad journey.
Yeah, and TBQ sort of just taking the journey to try and engage a fight and just instantly dying. That would be a curse of the sad journey. As MLXG, he's going to find the bottom lane here, but PYL just gets bursted down. That is going to be the ultimate coming through from Sky to lock that kill down. Imp was just feared. Nothing he could do to help out, and King have had a fantastic start this time around.
They went aggressed upon, no ultimate available. They couldn't buy any time, so PYL dies first. Lucian didn't have flash up. If they trade tanked effectively under turret, they should have been able to pick up a second kill. But King, they just keep pushing this wave and denying, importantly, the AD carry away from a farm.
Yeah, and it's sort of the opposite of what happened in the last game here, as well as Flame's actually going to teleport here to the top side of the map. You can see as far as those CS values are concerned, Wushin having a much better game, 66 to 50 in comparison to those AD carries. PWL just going to wander around this map some more, see if he can find some chimes. And MLXG going to counter jungle away this red buff here as well, and TBQ's just had sort of no presence in his jungle really as far as these buffs have been concerned, as MLXG going to take that one away, and the vision available for King as well, aggressively placed on this top side of the map, is huge.
So King, they're trying to kill the Amumu at his red buff. Don't know how successful they'll be right now. They're lying in wait. You have to expect TBQ is going to check his red camp right now.
We'll see whether the Cocoon is going to land here as well. The Dredge line does. Oh, the Cocoon doesn't land, and that's going to be the curse of the sad mummy to come through. The flash to come down. Depth charge not even there yet from Lamb. Of course, only level 4 as Wayless is here. Flame might be caught out just a little bit. The red buff doing some work. There's the Cocoon. The Dredge line to come down as well. Flame gets yelled at. Sky is coming through as quickly as he can. The last auto attack from MLXG is going to lock down that kill, and You're just a little bit too far forward was Flame.
It was good communication coming through from King. They didn't look for the turret dive. I thought maybe Sky would overextend for a turret dive auto with that devastating charge, but didn't need to. The Ignite was running. Flame dies. And LGD, they certainly haven't been able to get any rotational advantages from the Magical Journey. PYL has been doing a lot of roaming, but crucially doesn't have a Sightstone yet. So even though he can get some very aggressive wards with the Magical Journey and just the ability to pick up those chimes and get around the map quickly, without Boots of Mobility or even the Sightstone, just not much he can do in terms of impacting the map.
Yeah, hasn't quite managed to get there yet. Even sort of the Cosmic Spark not going to be coming through for those stuns either. We sort of haven't seen him impact a lane on the roam either. Just sort of been roaming around trying to get sort of more aggressive vision, but hasn't even managed to do that, really.
And just doesn't have the wards, doesn't have the Sightstone. That's the first big purchase for any support is a Sightstone, and just isn't completed at this point. When that's completed, maybe he'll be able to get some aggressive wards that other supports would struggle to do. You know, maybe a Jungle Gragas can get aggressive warding in, but not many people have things like the Magical Journey to be able to get them over those ledges and get the very aggressive wards. Not to say the enemy red buff, but they have an Amumu. You don't necessarily see the synergy. If they had a skirmish jungler who needed aggressive wards, like an Elise, to be honest, it could be very useful. But speaking of Elise...
Yeah, the swap going to come through from Imp here as well as the Cocoon not going to find its mark. It's a nice relentless pursuit from Imp and the flash to come through as well as the culling just going to try and deter King from going any further forward. Wushin does have the tier available, not able to pick up the Manamune completely just yet as TBQ, he's coming through here as well. Lamb's just going to get destroyed from this one. Eventually, of course, fairly tanky on that Nautilus as TBQ picks himself up another kill.
And there's a lot of scaling coming through from LGD. Amumu at level 18 has so much health, so much damage consistently over a long fight. So does Anivia. Of course, there are a lot of power troughs coming through Amumu, very gated by his ultimate in terms of his impact from level 6 onwards. Very long cooldown that ability. Anivia has to get the scaling going from the Rod of Ages, and PYL at this point still doesn't offer too much before he picks up some items. So roaming, PYL is caught by a Cocoon.
Yeah, these Acid Hunters coming through with so much damage as well. Oh my goodness, that was disgusting. As Imp now in the line of fire. TBQ does find his way back around. MLXG is very, very low. The Noxious Bite to come through. The heal comes down as well. Curseless when he gets there, but Sky teleports in, and TBQ devastatingly charged into the wall, and he's actually blocked from his turret there by King. Beautiful positioning. As Wayless might be in trouble. Assassin not going to find any of his skill shots here. Just going to be a gentleman, though, and head back down that river.
And the crazy thing is that Flame had teleport available, chose not to come down. So many advantages come through now, where they're going to get the Dragon as well. That's a big power window for King. They were already winning this game, but winning trades and now controlling the Dragon. It feels like everything's coming up King, even despite the small 1,000 gold lead.
Yeah, it's not too much to write home about now at the moment. At 12.5 minutes into this game. Of course, no turrets have been taken down yet either, but you have to think that's going to change as Flame is going to be able to get this one taken down in the top side as that one just falls. That is going to even out the gold here just a little bit. Only 500, and that is nothing. And when you're talking about 7 kills to 3, you'd expect a little bit more of a lead.
One of the things that actually I thought was important that previous trade is that instead of going for a straight Manamune, it was actually the Tear and the Brutalizer coming through from Woosh. So those Acid Hunters were doing so much damage. Yeah. PYL died to basically 3 Acid Hunters and then 1 like round of spells from, at least it might have even only been the Spider Form Q, but that was enough damage to take out what was a full health level 5 PYL Bard. So, I mean, a lot of damage coming through. Now has the Manamune, so scaling's in full display. Definitely more of a Frozen Heart game because you're against the Lucian. If he's able to delay the situation where Lucian can really out-damage him during a fight, you know, just continue to apply that passive, 15% reduced damage from all sources coming through from Imp, and just get the Acid Hunters. If he can stay stronger than Imp till maybe 30, 40 minutes into the game, definitely going to be much more effective use of the Urgot than what we saw previously.
Let's see whether they can make that one work out. Assassin does have his Rod of Ages in answer to the same one on the side of Whaler. So these mid laners still very, very close. TBQ coming through, but not going to find too much as Wave's just going to be cleared out. Pretty standard stuff as far as that's concerned, but you can see the Hecarim actually behind a little bit to this Maokai on the top side, and Flame has just been sort of chilling out in that top side of the map, farming out these waves over and over again.
You have to expect the Righteous Glory, especially with the buffs, going to be the pickup. Probably will be able to get a decent part-time Rod of Ages with the very safe farm that he's been able to do, Flame, but feels like a lot of players have moved away from the Rod of Ages and just been relying on the Righteous Glorious. There's a bit of a battle between junglers.
Yeah, MLXG actually going to find TBQ here, or is it the other way around as Curse of the Sad Mummy comes through? Sky going to pick up that kill with the Igniters. Flame now going to get turned around on the Cocoon. Not going to find its mark as MLXG misses that one, and then probably not going to go for the dive. Their health bars are quite low, but, oh, actually, that was the Tempered Fate to come down from PYL.
He just wanted to try and disengage a potential turret dive. Could have been massive, but they elected not to go for the dive. A bit of a smile coming through, as they all enjoy the Bard pick.
Yeah, and there's the magical journey was through that wall as well. We've got to make sure that we mention every magical journey that's going to be seen on the map this game, because that is probably the coolest ability I have ever seen. As Flame just going to try and twist it, advance his way to safety. Almost manages to turn this one around as MLXG has to get out of there. Flame still a fantastic champion.
Dodge this.
Sorry. Yeah, not going to be able to do it on the depth charge, and that was 4 members in the top lane, and Flame said, come on, I played that so well.
Yeah, exactly. You can dodge all the skill shots. No skill required for the depth charge, barring perhaps, you know, Fat Friendly the wrong person, but was able to get in there. Got the kill down. LGD using this time to get the mid turret for outer turret. You take that trade if you were LGD.
Yeah, not too bad at all. TBQ actually coming around here, trying to clear out this pink ward. Wushin actually going to land a few Acid Hunters on him as well. You can see the range massive here after he lands that corrosive charge. PWL wants to clear out that pink, and he's moving very fast through the enemy jungle.
Finally has his support core. It's definitely delayed the 15 minutes for the boots of mobility and the Sightstone. He has it, but yeah, you definitely haven't felt like he was able to get the advantage of Bard's mobility in the early. That wasn't required to be accountable because of the lane swap, so definitely could have do a lot of roaming, pick up a lot of the chimes. But because he had such a late Sightstone and didn't even necessarily have a stack of green wards that would have delayed his Sightstone but would have got them early vision, he just wasn't able to get wards down before his pathing becomes a bit more predictable. Suddenly there's going to be many more pink wards and green wards on the map at 16 minutes compared to maybe the 8-9 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and that was the cue to come through from POL for a nice stun there onto Wushin. Has to be very careful at this stage. Does have the flask there, does have a bit of sustain in this lane, but will have to be careful. MLXG with now the Lucidity boots as well as this Cinderhulk, a very tanky spider to possibly come through, and no vision available for LGD in this bottom brush. See whether King managed to get there. Beautiful Scrying Orb going to give up their position. And LGD, they're going to be safe for now. Actually, Imp going to get caught by that one. That shouldn't have happened. Tempered Fate comes down as TBQ wants to set up the Curse of the Sad Mummy. Wushin actually going to dodge out of the way of the stun here. Lame going to flash to safety. Imp still so incredibly low as MLXG looks to try and secure this kill. The swap comes through. Wushin now with a lot of extra statistics.
Here comes Wayless.
Yeah, the bird comes down first before Assassin, but is the Rupture going to be there? As not going to find the markers. Sky comes into this one. The Cocoon's down onto Wayless, but then he flashes through. MLXG, he's ignited.
Oh.
The Flash Frost gets it at max range. No worries, and Wayless still pretty damn good from that mid lane.
So you're getting out-rotated by Anivia, the lowest base move speed in the game, but able to out-rotate Assassin. Not sure if he has the boots. He wasn't a big fan of buying boots last time. In fact, he doesn't actually have boots on Anivia and out-rotated a Cho'Gath with boots.
That is dumb. That is really, really dumb. And the fact that more than 20 CS in the lead as well. Not entirely sure how that happened, Assassin.
Movement speed quintessence is judging by his move speed, though.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's something.
That is probably not enough, is it? Movement speed quints, boots 1, what wins?
Well, he's 343 move speed against 370, so I'm going to go with Cho'Gath.
Theoretically, but it didn't seem to work out in that bottom lane, as LGD definitely played that one beautifully. There is still life in them, despite the fact that TBQ not exactly having the best time on this Amumu, having died 5 times on this map. But
I mean, TBQ in general, he's been kind of the big problem for LG in that he keeps picking fights against Elise after seeing her, despite the fact it's the strongest early skirmishing champion in the game against Amumu who's looking for team fights. So they're picked for completely different reasons.
Yeah.
And he's still electing to fight against this Elise, who's a snowboard, who's doing fine, has gone the Cinderhulk, so it's not necessarily the Magus. Going to be basically the same frontline Elise that we expect.
Yeah, sort of the standard Elise jungle who's just going to be there with a whole lot of CC and a whole lot of guaranteed damage to come through with the percentage health, as Lamb going to get some wards around here as well. POAL not going to be able to see that one with the pink ward. But he is going to be making sure that they can get the Amumu into position.
The Tempered Fate, we have to shout it out, was actually used very, very well
Oh,
in that
yes.
fight. Bought time for Amumu to get the initiation. Suddenly you see 2.5 seconds for Amumu to position himself either with a bandage or just to walk up and flash ult. could actually be massive in these late game fights. I don't know about you, Alex, but I'm salivating at seeing just exactly what this Bard can do in the late game.
Yeah, well, Bard with coordination is a very scary prospect, especially when you've got so much setup. You've got walls available here from Wayless.
Flash Frost.
He can cut someone off with sort of pinpoint accuracy. He's got 2 seconds to be able to get it in the right position. TBQ can be standing in wait, and you'll have the Glacial Storm going the whole time as well. It's going to be very, very difficult for King to really do anything once that setup's come through, but it's all about making sure that they can execute it.
I'm just really interested to see how Bard interacts with the likes of the Juggermore, so popular on this patch. All about positioning your AD carry. If either defensively or offensively, you can kind of see that the Tempered Fate could really wreck a lot of these positionally based comps, because you just let your gap closers. Oh my goodness, Joe got stuck in the wall.
Oh dear. And then gets stunned a little bit as well, of course.
It was Gentleman Cho'Gath, so he shouted quiet. He was quite frustrated.
Yeah, he's probably, definitely, maybe complaining just a little bit, you know. He'll send something through to the manager. Or something like, oh, I believe that I was stuck in a wall, and it wasn't a very good experience for me.
That's Sean Connery, by the way, Atlas.
It was not Sean Connery. Every time it seems to be Sean Connery. Oh, my goodness. Frozen Heart completed now from Flame in comparison to the Trinity Force there from Sky. POL going to get caught by another Cocoon.
I mean, MLXG still has a lot of damage on Elise. These early levels, we've actually seen Elise, when we've seen her in other regions, just throw in the Haunting Guys, just like the old Elise used to be Sorcerer's Shoes, Haunting Guys to be damage ready. CDR Boots still going to have a very similar flavor and just doing quite a lot of relevant damage. Imp has to respect Whoosh. That's why there's still a 20 CS advantage. Not massive, but present in the bottom lane. Yeah,
and you can see actually that Glacial Shroud already completed here by Whoosh, so having that 20% CDR already available. We'll see whether he goes for those Merc Treads again or whether it's going to be the Lucidity Boots. Try and make sure that he can get up to that high cooldown reduction state.
I have to think it's going to be some Runes and Masteries to help him over 35%. I think you need over 35% to do that last Acid Hunt, do the maximum amount of potential damage. So just going to work. The Frozen Heart being completed will be a big part-time coming through for Whoosh. He's going to be the one on his team to finish that item. As no one else builds it necessarily naturally, although Hecarim probably would have thrown it in at some point.
We'll see whether he is going to build it anyway, of course, is having multiple Frozen Hearts when, you know, you could be swapped out of range of that item with yourself there from Whoosh, and so might be still worthwhile as the Morellonomicon now completed by Assassin, the Athene's Unholy Grail for Wayless there in the mid lane as well. Actually, the teleport coming through from Sky, looking to try and make something happen. MLXG wants to get in there. The fear goes off onto Imp, and he just gets exploited. Oh my goodness. The Tempered Fate looking for something. That's just going to delay the death of Imp, though. Is the Repel going to come through? MLXG just looking to try and turn something around, but Sky so tanky now as well with that Spectre's Cowl on top of all the damage from the Trinity Force. The Flash Dredgeline to come through. POL completely out of mana, gets ignited. That kill is secured. Sky now trying to turn around here as well. Flame tanking so much here. The beautiful Curse of the Sad Mummy as Wayless going to fall down as well. Oh my gosh, this tanky assassin is just doing so much work, but TBQ is taking so long to die. Wushin gets a double kill. And when he finally takes down the Mummy, and how is Flame not dead? He's been in a fight for about 3 minutes.
That's what happens when you have a Frozen Heart at 22 minutes into the game, backed up by the Catalyst. It's still a 4-for-1 trade, I believe, as LGD's come back in the life. 4-for-2, sorry, as 2-4. They'll also get this turret, so it's definitely a teamfight win for a King. And those were the sort of fights they were looking for in the previous game, but never managed to get.
Yeah, I think it was actually 4-for-3. I'm not entirely sure.
It was a long fight. Very tanky members.
That's
so long. A preview of 5.6. The fights, they go from about 12, 15 seconds to good old 40-second fights.
It's about time that I actually learned how to breathe, I guess. So maybe we'll have to be working on that one as these fights start to extend into this one. Randuin's Omen almost completed by TBQ, as it is going to be Static Shiv, the next option for Imp to complement that Infinity Edge. Is behind a little bit in CS, and now after that skirmish, Wushin very, very strong. And this is something that Elise has always been incredibly good at. It's the early Baron.
And it's completely not snuffed out at all by LGD. POL's not even on that side of the map to put down vision. This should be a completely unanswered Baron. Although TBQ, he's feeling feisty.
He is feeling feisty, but he doesn't have access to the ultimate just yet. This is down incredibly low. Is TBQ going to get it? No, not going to happen this time. And TBQ going to answer for it with his life as well. King They locked down the Baron, but in the end, that was 50-50.
That was 50-50. Still super, super risky. So a lot of 50-50 Barons in the first weeks of the LPL, but I mean, MP does get 2 turrets, so credit to him, does get a lot of map pressure down. What can they do with Baroness? My goodness, maybe he won't get the turret.
Yeah, that's the onslaught of shadows to come through here as well. Imp is most definitely going to die as Sky just rampages through him. PYL has been caught by Assassin, and that's a big Cho'Gath, ladies and gentlemen.
It's definitely not been Aesop's fables when it comes to magical journeys. It's been quite a few depressing tales coming through from PYL in the first few levels. There's still potential, there's still hope, but the Bard not doing too much.
Yeah, but you know, the Tempered Fates have been doing something. You know, it does sound like there's thought behind, you know, using that ability.
He hasn't necessarily helped the enemies yet.
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. Of course, that's been my experience with Bard thus far. But look, his ults have been great. We'll see whether they can turn around a potential fight in the late game, because it's an incredibly high impact ability if you get it to work right.
Has the Aegis now, so at least it's providing some utility with his item choice from the Aegis. Will be helpful against the magic damage poke coming through from Cho'Gath and Elise. I can hear you not
I'm
thinking that I'm disparaging Bard's kit. Okay, it's not the most helpful. The shield, the health packs are nice.
Yeah, it's almost like what you'd say about a support Ashe coming through. Now has the Aegis, so he's finally doing something.
I mean, Ashe has plenty of appeal with the slows and the ultimate.
Yeah, no, it's actually support Ashe is a thing. I don't know why you used that one as an option. Support Ashe is great. Hawkshot, free vision, free CC all the time.
Is 5, 7, and 2. That's quite insane given how this game's gone.
That is a lot
That's
of
not
kill
really
participation.
who you want all the
but
kills on.
Look at the death participation. That's pretty good. That's close to half.
I mean, other people are doing their best support acts when it comes to deaths. Unfortunately, he has all the team's kills, which isn't really ideal either.
No. Not quite all of them, but is definitely up there. Whalers still having a great performance, yet again, going for that Liandry's, and that's 3 items on an Anivia, which is still pretty big.
Still looking like a very good purchase. Health stacking's happening across the map once again. So, I mean, the Liandry's going to be doing so much work. The ultimate, of course, procs the extended Liandry's burn. It lasts longer because it's being during movement impaired.
Yeah, well,
the Liandry's lasts longer, so of course the ultimate does the movement speed slow. So we'll be applying that extra amount. So an extended fight might be doing deceptive amounts to the high health targets coming through from King. LGD, though, very much on the back foot, and this is where PYL looks just unfortunately a little bit useless. Able to put down the health packs, but can't really roam. They're not really looking to go aggressive. They're really respecting the map pressure from King.
Yeah, and you can see Wushin now as well has so many items, so many bits of items here as well. It makes Imp look like he has barely anything. Of course, full inventory now available for Wushin.
It gets better for Imp. You know, of course, he will be able to tank bust in the late game with perhaps a Last Whisper and then working his way towards that Bloodthirster, but this is what we didn't see in the previous game. There was no situation in the previous game where Urgot was super strong and Kog'Maw was still working his way towards. I mean, Kog'Maw does have a pretty impressive 1-item power spike for a hyper carry. Trinity Force, he still does a lot of things because, again, his steroid with levels, the Bioarcane Barrage is doing a lot of relevant damage early game. Cho'Gath trying to hit skill shots on Amumu. Not that easy, it turns out.
Yeah, it's a pretty amusing battle here as TBQ almost doing enough damage back to Assassin with his Cinder Hulk to make that trade not worthwhile at all. Whalers not going to find the right wall, but it is going to zone Assassin away from that cannon creep for a little bit, which was amusing to watch. But this inner turret is going to fall down in the top lane. That is the final one. No, it actually isn't. There are 2 more left. I'm getting a little bit overexcited, but it's going to be the first inner turret to fall down here for King.
And the worry is that at this point, Urgot is out-tanking and out-damaging the Lucian. I mean, the tanking part's pretty much a given. He goes for those cost-effective early stats. He has the extra bonus resist coming through from his ultimate, but the damage, unfortunately, the Lucian, to do any damage to the tanky frontline is going to have to get that Last Whisper, going to have to get that extra BF sword. They need to hold on to this game. They need to buy time. Maybe the Tempered Fate will be good for a disengage to buy them time. Because 40 minutes, this game might look different. But at the present point, they have control over, at most, maybe their Raptor camp. But anywhere further than that is completely King's map.
Yeah, but with what is different to this comp from the last comp here as well coming through from King is the fact that they've now got a Hecarim on the side here who's just going to get so huge in the later stages of this game as well, you have to think. Yeah,
lots of burst damage coming through. Trinity Force is completed. Good champion and turret dives as well. has the Ignite, so even has a bit more burst damage to come through from that ability. And they have a second ranged auto attacker in the Elise.
Yeah.
Not exactly long range, but 2 auto attackers is better than 1.
They'll
Absolutely.
take any that they can get, you could imagine, after that last game here, as well as the culling going to be used just to try and deter King, but it's not going to be enough. Sky actually just rampages his way back to this turret, and the 5th tower going to fall for King here as well. Sky going to head back to base, maybe pick up that Frozen Heart, which he's been saving up for. That Glacial Shroud been sitting there for quite some time. Just has enough for the Warden's Mail and a few extra wards here as well, as LGD now looking for exactly what they want to be doing next. And you can see, look at the defensive vision to come through from this LGD squad. This is a very different game to what it was last time around.
Absolutely. They had a lot of offensive vision last game. In this game, those pink wards that King have had up around their river have been up a long time, Atlas. There's been no way for LGD to pressure them. They look like they're going to be able to pick up their blue buff. Unsettling an Anivia comp and the stall she can prove out has often always historically been about denying blue buff, and that is the one thing Wayless has been able to keep. That's the one thing LGD have been able to do, is to keep this Anivia with a good, strong mana buy. Has the Athenes, now has blue, should be wave clear for days.
Yeah, well, that's true. So we might be able to see sort of the old CLGU. Yep, good old
Mentioned it
Froggen.
first time, it's still relevant here.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be relevant, let's be honest. See whether, Froggen's too busy putting ham into service.
Going deep with the references.
Yeah, it's a little bit too deep, I think, as well. But Imp has picked up that Last Whisper here as well, so that is 3 items strong now for this Lucian. You can see he's definitely doing some big damage as Sky looking to try and come through.
This is King lapsing, though. They've got both their blue and red buff. LGD claim their own buffs despite the fact they've had no control of their jungle. So that's lapses and rotations coming. They should have clear timers with their consistent vision they've had for 6 to 10 minutes and have been contesting for enemy red and blue buffs at every turn. That's something that OMG, EDG, all the top teams are known for. Playoff teams should be better about timing out those enemy buffs, and those are bonuses to LGD, which get them closer and closer to that late game relevancy that their comp affords.
Yeah, and LGD have managed to take control of their top side of the jungle as well, and this is exactly when Baron has just respawned, and this is where King should have been pressuring here on the top side. They could have really locked that one down. The Dragon is about to respawn. King going to lock down their 4th here, so that is very important, making sure that they can pressure out for that 5th Dragon as soon as possible. Wushin trying to throw in some Acid Hunters around the side, but it's not going to matter too much. This is definitely free. And, oh, actually, Tempered Fate going to come through. That is going to mean that the Dragon, potentially a fitty-fitty, but MLXG might need to be careful. That is going to be a nice bandage toss from TBQ, who's looking to come through. Oh my god, that cocoon was amazing as Sky comes through into the backline as well. The Curse of the Sad Mummy a little bit sad here at this stage because the AD carry already dead. MLXG going to die, but Wushin still doing damage here on the backline. Sky rampaging through this fight. The Bird very, very low. The Flash Frost almost managing to net a kill into Assassin, but not quite as Sky comes around. The Egg is going to fall, maybe even just get eaten. No, it's not. It's Wushin going to lock down that kill. That is a 3-for-1 so far in King. They may be able to take down this inhibitor.
Wayless play that fight so smartly. They're continuing, though.
Yeah, Wushin actually gets the swap onto Flame here as well. Held onto the ultimate for that whole time. The double kill, and that's the ace for 1 second as Imp just comes back up.
And the base is broken despite their low attack ranges. Breaking the base was always going to be difficult against an Anivia especially. They're going to take this inhibitor. That's the big thing there for King.
And that's the biggest inhibitor too, the bottom lane when Baron is still available.
Absolutely, and this might make up for their lack of rotations, their poor enemy buff control and timing. If they still get the Baron, it makes up for their poor play. Maybe that's not necessarily a good thing moving into playoffs. They'll have to watch and control that. We're going to see a replay of this fight. The one thing I can tell you is that Wayless played this fight amazingly, but we'll focus on King. The burst damage onto Imp was huge, and then the cocoon as well.
How did that even happen?
Unbelievable. The extra speed was coming through, but watch Wayless in the backline separate and doing consistent damage with the Andrews the whole time. But in the mid, you can see it's just tanky members from King doing low but relevant consistent damage, and eventually the threats fall. Wayless keeps fighting, hits the Flash Frost to disengage his fight, but the Flash Dredge line from Lamb won them the fight. They finally got Ignivia to show her face on the map, take down the Egg, and they went on to break the base from that. Oh my goodness!
Oh my goodness! The Baron to steal right as we come back. Tempered Fate comes through as well. TBQ trying his very best to get out of here after he picks up the Baron. The depth charge to come through onto him, knocks him up, but they can't follow up onto it as Assassin already takes half of his health. Flame just being a menace in this one. Magical Journey is being followed here by Liam so far up the map.
The misclick.
Is that how you make it work? Is you misclick on it and it cause, or you click on it and make your enemy use it?
PYL died during it, and then the misclick would probably help, to be honest.
Oh, beautiful stuff. But that was a mammoth steal to come through from TBQ.
It was massive, but unfortunately, a member dying at this point. Okay, it's only an 8-second death timer. If they keep up this outer turret, then yeah, it's definitely a team fight win coming through from LG despite the kill score. This is King making significant mistakes. We already talked and dwelled upon the buff control. Why is that a second 50-50 Baron possibility for the steal? With 50-50 odds, eventually it's going to come true. It's level 15 to, I believe, level 15. I can't actually see over onto the production mode about level 15 on at least. They were equal levels. Why do you set up these situations? Not have someone zoning, not have someone... I mean, Nautilus could just stand there. He has 1,000,000 CCs to stop you from coming near to the Baron.
That's not even really an exaggeration.
But King in general, like, this is just poor play from them. They need to be better at controlling both enemy objectives and just neutral objectives in the Baron. For them to be this far ahead, only 8,000. This should be a 15,000 gold ahead. They should have had no buffs. It should have been a second free Baron. But you pick up a Baron at 35 minutes, suddenly you're able to clear waves. Suddenly you'll be able to push things out. Suddenly, Imp is just the Combine and a Vamp Scepter away from Bloodthirster. They're still alive when this should have been a dead game for LGD.
Yeah, it should have been. And King, they are most definitely still in the lead. 8,000 gold, but giving up that Baron just gives so much extra stall to this team that did not need any extra stall.
It's just needless, though. That's the problem, is that they should be better than that. They should be on top of these objectives.
You sound like you're a disappointed father.
I'm very disappointed.
You're not mad. You're just disappointed.
I'm very disappointed. That's all I can say. They need to be better at these things, but they do have another win condition coming in a minute 45 with the 5th Dragon potentially coming through. PYL not had the best of games on Bard, perhaps not surprising, but has the Locket, so at least has a bit of magic as this coming through. Sky's actually been looking for the split push, trying to push up this Baron minion wave. They want to cause as much disruption as possible to shield themselves for a perfect free 5th Dragons. They do not want to have another 50-50 smite battle.
Yeah, and that was a cool magical journey wall that we just panned over as well. Very, very exciting as PWL set that one up for his team. It's a decent cocoon onto Flame, but he doesn't care about that at all. He's a very, very tanky man. MLXG actually might be in a lot of trouble here as well as Righteous Glory gets him in range. Oh, there are no Raptors there, MLXG, and you are dead,
And
sir.
suddenly these tanks are not as tanky.
Magical Journey as the Rupture comes through. That was a bad one. As the members of LGD just melt. Imp now is the focus as Lamb just going to take him down there on the backside. The double kill to come in. Wushin trying to get some follow-up damage down. P-Whale getting tossed about here by the King members. Sky's going to be able to take that one out. And oh my goodness, the magical journey went wrong.
The magical nightmare coming through from PYL. You can understand why they were doing it, though. They were going in with an Amumu for the potential AoE ultimate. I have to wait for the replay to see if they actually had the ward coverage to go for it. It could have been a genius one, but the Feral Scream delayed the Curse of the Sad Mummy until right at the last second. Sky's actually teleported, I believe. That's going to be at least one turret down. Amumu's back up. Will they be able to hold the finish?
Yeah, Wushin actually still very, very low. As, yep, the super fast Sky on this magical horse. And in fact, LGD, they get an inhibitor from it.
They gain an inhibitor, absolutely. The inhibitor does respawn, so they're not at the threat of being backdoored at this point. You're being a bit facetious over there, Atlas. We're still waiting to see the replay of that magical journey. Please show us the replay.
I really hope so.
There's something important to show right now. This is the 5th Dragon, you have to remember. And TBQ, he's done it once.
Yeah, the Steel Master himself. They do manage to secure that one, most likely with a feast here from Assassin, as 5th Dragon has been locked down. But Assassin might actually be caught out here as the Tier's doing a lot of consistent damage. And beautiful Cosmic Spike. But oh my gosh, Imp, you're in a lot of trouble. Tempered Fate not going to find Sky here as well. And Imp, not enough relentless pursuits to get out of this one. Look at the wall here available, but it's not enough as King are just tearing LGD apart. The magical journeys for everyone as MLXG going to use the repel. Actually, the Curse of the Sad Mummy might be able to get a kill here for TBQ, but it's not going to be enough. Flame against the world, and it's another ace for King.
It's a much better executed comp coming through. Thank you very much, Observer. You are very dead, PYL. on Bard. This should be the king victory. They executed the anti-carry comp much better than they did in Game 1. In Game 1, they made the failed engage and got outscaled by the Kog'Maw comp. In this game, the anti-carry was successful. The Urgot was doing a lot more damage than the Lucian, who was being chased away by just the Hecarim in fights. 1-1 is probably a fair result, and the debut of Bard, it was a bit sad times.
Maybe left a little bit to be desired, but I mean, PYL will see whether he can bring that one out again and get a better performance next time around, because I have to think that, I mean, Bard, there are some potentially better team comps that you can build around that champion. There might be a more exciting magical journey comp to come through next time, Papa
I was
Smithy.
so ready for that last magical journey that both Bard and Amumu went upon. But the Feral Scream just dealt with it so well. I don't know if he had Merc Treads, but regardless, the silence duration felt like a long time. By the time he set off the Curse of the Sad Mummy, he was already very low in health. They weren't able to capitalize. You could see the potential. You could see some of the portions of the AoE stacking they could do come together, but they never got the picture-perfect ultimates stacking they were looking for.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to take Magical Journey, I think you need Idol of Durand as well. I think you have to take a Galio into that one. Magical Journey into the Constant Taunt could be a whole lot of fun. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for this game. Starhorn Royal Club are going to be taking on Vici Gaming right after.